So, two things. One, I do feel a little bit under the weather. Not like sick, like a headache or a stomach ache or anything that like fatigue, stuff like that. Just like a runny nose and congestion. And I've had a scratchy throat the last few days, so I have tissues at the ready in case my nose starts to leak like a faucet. And I have hot tea here at the ready in case if I need it. But the second thing is, I couldn't wait because what? We're on episode 23 of Berserk, and I couldn't wait. I'm sorry. I'm not that far ahead of you all. Episode 20 has just come out on Patreon. Episode 19 has come out on YouTube. I'm not that far ahead as I'm recording this, but I had to go ahead and watch because I was like, I know that when episodes 21 and 22 hit, everybody's going to be like, oh my God, right? And I'm going to be like, I need to be a little bit ahead. So that's kind of where my thought process is right now. Also, I had a notebook that had notes in it to talk to you all before the reaction, but like I said, because I've been kind of under the weather and I've still been going to work and trying to get stuff done before the holiday season, I left my notebook filled with my notes for comments in my office at work. So, and it's a holiday weekend. So, so I will have to get it when I get back, and I'm going to have to go through it and for episode 24, note any extra comments. So I may have a lot more comments for episode 24 than I do this episode. To update you, I have volume 1 of the deluxe edition of the manga sitting right beside me. It's been sitting here for several weeks, taunting me, begging me to open it, and I have showed as much restraint as possible. But I have also gone ahead and purchased volumes 2 and 3 of the manga. So I've got those ready to go, and I'm going to hopefully over break, because I know those reactions and discussions are going to probably be long. I'm just gonna throw it out there. There are probably gonna be some really long reactions. So I'm gonna try my best to get ahead if I can and do that. So we're gonna test that theory out, see if it works. Hopefully it does, but I'm really excited about that. So I'll probably have more information for you all in the next reactions for episodes 22, 24, and 25. We only have 3 episodes of the anime left. 3. And it feels, I feel so happy that I'm reading the manga because it feels like we just got started. It feels like the plot is, which there's been so much happen in this series. I want to say the plot's just kicking in, but it's been kicking in since episode 1. So it's been going nonstop, but it feels like we're building towards something big. And it's going to be like one of those things where you build towards something big and it's just going to stop and you're going to be like, but what about the rest of the story? And luckily, sitting beside me, there is the deluxe edition just ready and waiting to go. So I'm really excited about that. I'm super excited. I'm gonna have to do a lot of playing around with how to record the manga, things like that. And that's another thing, another reason why I want to record ahead is that I want to give myself enough time to play around and figure out, okay, how do I record the manga? What does that look like? How is me recording myself talking about the manga while it's being recorded look like? I've got some new equipment that Patreon has helped me purchase, so I'm going to be playing with that over the holiday break and trying to figure out how that works. So that's another reason why recording ahead is very helpful. So, but yeah, oh my God, it's the holiday season, and what better way to celebrate than with Berserk? Am I right, you guys? This tea's a little bit too hot still, but I know that by the time I finish the episode, it won't be. So, first and foremost, thank you, Patreon, for helping me to buy these things, to do all of the things. It's very, very helpful. Again, thank you to the philanthropy tier. I don't mention you guys a lot because usually when I record ahead, I don't know if patrons stay in the philanthropy tier or they rotate in and out. Some have been long-standing members, so thank you, and some are new ones, so you just never know. But thank you very much to Alex Cornejo, to Anime Annie, to Anna, to Ashigats No Bitches, to Be Happy, to Dana, as well as Destiny Marie, Edgar, to Eric, to Kiri, to Loisige, to Matthew Palfiniere, to Nameless Monster, to Saku, to Shimoyama, to Sunspots, to Translucent Men, to Trails, to Tyrone, as well as Zakiel. Thank you all so, so much. The donations that you and Patreon give me help me to buy the deluxe manga so I can give you these reactions, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. So, all of my love. Last episode, Rickard could be dead. We don't know. Rickard could be dead. Most of the band of the Hawk are dead. We don't know where Corcus is. Griffith's been rescued, but he's just watched and kind of maybe figured out that Guts and Casca are now a thing, and he's like, I've suffered for a year in a dungeon, and this is what's been going down. And so it's just like, oh my God. Oh! And I had a lot of really good comments that I wanted to talk about with Berserk, and I've left them at work, and I'm so frustrated by that. So, I know that Amir Almond and some others had some really good comments, so don't worry. I'm going to bring them up with episode 24. I promise. I'll probably have a lot of comments with episode 24, I'm sure, but we will cross those bridges when we get to them. But oh my god, so that's where we are. But I'm really excited. So yeah, there's a lot of comments that I would like to have said, but they're gonna have to wait till next episode because, like I said, in my loopy, medicine-addled mind, I left them at work, and I'll have to pick them up next week when I go back to work and bring them home. So that's where we're at with that. But we're not going to waste any more time. What's going to happen, right? Communication is important, y'all. And when you don't communicate well, bad things can happen. I just don't know if 3 episodes left and things are getting pretty scary. So what we going to do with this? But we're going to find out. So let's not waste any more time. Let's just dive right in. Dive right in and see. Maybe it won't be that bad. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe everything will be fine. The demons will be like, oh, peace out, sorry, our bad. And nothing of consequence will happen. Right? Right? We're going to start episode 23 of Berserk here in 3, 2, 1. And I'll see you all on the other side. Don't worry, guys. We have 2 episodes left. I'm sure that our crew will solve the problem in those 2 episodes. No! That's what's so crazy about this, is it? No! In any other series, you'd be like, oh, well, there's 2 episodes left. This seems rather doom and gloom. This seems rather like hell on earth. It seems like the apocalypse opening up. But don't worry, guys. We have 2 episodes left to slay the monster and save the day. But that's not what this is. No, because there's 14,700-page volumes. There's 9,800 pages, at least, of this story. And they're not going to solve this problem. This is just the beginning of the problems. And that's all I'm going to get. Oh, I don't know. I've thought it over, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, watch the Memorial Editions. Oh, watch the movies. Oh, do this. And honestly, though, I want to interact with the manga, and I want to read the manga first and kind of see. So I'm not saying I'm not going to react to those things. I'm not committed to those things, but I really want to get into the manga after this series. So if you were expecting me to do the Memorial Edition or the movies, I don't know. I want to dive into the manga next because I want to see that. And then if we cover the stuff that is in the manga and I want to see it animated, then maybe we'll see. But I can't, oh my God. Things are not good. Things are not good. My brother was like, you're in danger. I'm like, no, I'm in danger now. Things are really bad and they're not getting better. Okay, so let's go back. I feel like I'm definitely going to need to maybe rewatch. I don't want to rewatch the first episode though before I get to the last final episodes, because then what, you know? So let's just talk about episode 1 and what I remember of it, right? In episode 1, things were very bad. In episode 1, we had that things were not good under quote unquote King Griffith. Things were not good under King Griffith, and if you talked bad about it, you likely could end up getting killed. So that was a problem. Things were not good. Also, we have the idea that Guts has no arm and maybe no eye on one side. He also does not like or has a vendetta against Griffith. There's a little bit of that going on. Fun times. And there are demons everywhere. But it's what's weird is that there was demons everywhere among the humans, but we really didn't see, like, they weren't widespread like they were at the end of this episode. The end of this episode was like, blah, there they are. So I don't know, but they were there because we had the whole thing with the Fief Lord. The Fief Lord who had a Behelit of their own that was given to them. that was called the Egg of God. They had a behelit of their own, right? Do I think that there is more than one behelit in the world? Yeah. Is there more than one egg in the world? Yeah, there's usually like a dozen. So could it be possible there's a dozen of these behelits? Like there's 12 behelits if we're doing like a little dozen of eggs. Is there a possibility there's 12 little eggs that are God eggs running around? Sure. We haven't received a numerical number that Guts has been given yet, but it is safe to assume that, sure, if you said there were 12 eggs, I'd be like, yes, that makes perfect sense. Put them in a little carton, ship them out, we're all good to go. But one of them was the Thief Lord that had the snake demon seemingly combined with it. So this is my theories based on episode 1. Based on episode 1 and what we know about Griffith and his state of being at this point, which we will talk about in here. At some point, I think that the eclipse plus the behelit having Griffith's flesh and blood sacrificed to it is going to allow Griffith. Will it allow Griffith to power, quote unquote, power up and gain demonic powers? Has he always been a demon and he was reborn as a human or disguised as a human? We talked about this last episode. Could he have been a demon all along and he's just been stuck inside this human shell waiting to like burst, and this was the point where he bursts? And then using that power, does he wipe? I think he's going to wipe out the Band of the Hawk. I think he's going to wipe out the Band of the Hawk. He may kill Casca and Corcus and the others. He may kill all of them except Guts, and somehow Guts makes it out. And because he wipes out everybody except Guts, Guts is like, goes on this vendetta against him. So at this point, Corcus, Casca, Judo, and Pippin, they could all die in the next 2 episodes. They could all die, and they could just have been alive for this one moment in time, this one arc of this giant series, and that could be it. Would I be surprised? No. Would I hate it? Yes. Very possible. And then Rickard, we don't even know about Rickard. They don't even touch Rickard. They're not even concerned about Rickard. They haven't even made it back to the other Band of the Hawk members yet. They don't even know. They don't even know, because they just made it to the rendezvous point. They hadn't even made it back to camp to see what happened with Rickard and the others. They have no idea. So, and presumably this eclipse and everything is happening around the same time that Rickard and the others were all like vanquished, and who knows what happens to Rickard. So, don't even know, y'all. But I have a feeling that Griffith is either going to like become a demon, or it's going to be revealed he's been a demon all along. And he's going to like wipe out everybody, and somehow Guts is going to live. And then Guts is going to be like, Griffith, how could you betray us? Why did you do this? And we were trying to do everything for you. And Griffith would be like, no. And then just like becomes Jafar coming out of the smoke. I know, Huck. I know. I am worried about the next 2 episodes. I'm not ready. No. So let's break down these episodes though, because we get a lot about Griffith. Some disturbing shit happens. Where there's a lot of discussion about what Guts' primary goal is and everything. But yeah, so I do remember one thing, and I will restate it next week at the intro because I'm paraphrasing. But Amir Almond did talk about in their comment. One of the comments I had in my notes that I left behind was this concept of Godot. I had a lot of info on Godot from episode 20, which we'll talk about it next week. But Godot talks about how you do not need a purpose or a goal to find happiness in life. There are sparks, and I'm going to put this in big letters so y'all can see, sparks everywhere. Because, yeah, Godot lives this very meager existence, which kind of ties back to the flashback that Griffith has later on with Casca, which we'll talk about in a hot second. But it's this idea there were sparks everywhere. It's like you can find, if like Godot says, you don't need to have this big overarching purpose. You don't need to be this famous person to achieve a lot in life. Your life can be achieved just by having small moments of happiness that add up to make an existence is worthwhile to you. So to Godot, he's like, yeah, I'm sitting here making swords all the time, but I like it. It gives me happiness. I don't know why, but it does, and I find purpose in life from it. Your life doesn't have to have this big overarching arc or hero's journey to have purpose or happiness. And so that's Godot's reasoning. And Guts kind of like takes that to heart. He's like, well, I got my sword, and I can protect others, I guess, if I want to, and I can go do things for myself. And he kind of has an epiphany, right? Meanwhile, Griffith, in contrast, Griffith says that without a dream, if you have no dream, you have no reason to exist. You are not his friend. You are not his friend, and you have no value. Essentially. Now, I'm paraphrasing. I'll talk about it more next week in the intro for episode 24. But yeah, basically, he's like, if you don't have a dream, then your life's worthless. That doesn't have meaning. And that's a pretty dour look on life, that if you can't have an overarching goal or meaning, then it's useless. It's almost like Griffith repels that idea of having simple freedoms in your life to make it of value. He's like, no, you have to have a big overarching goal or you're pointless. I'm like, I would say that he had some overbearing parents, but considering he may be from the demon world, who knows? Could be the case. I don't even know, but holy shit. So yeah, have this wrinkly old hand. Again, I think the hand that the egg of God is from is like Griffith's dad or something, if he's from the demon world. I don't know. But he's like, is it controlled by an entity or law? It's true, at least man has no control even over his own will. So man, this whole first part of the episode where they're trying to get Griffith away is just, it's hard. Because it establishes that the timeline, that they were very far away from the castle. They've been chased for a while. It's not nighttime anymore, so timeline-wise, Rickert and them could have been dead for a long time and nobody knows yet because they're like, oh, they're fine. They're back at camp just chilling out. Everything's all hunky-dory. No. And then, of course, this guy, I am a little bit sad that the, like, freaked out Knight Commander here with the messed up eyes, he doesn't live very long. I really had high hopes he would live and maybe have some kind of character arc, but Guts gets rid of him real quick. And so there's this idea that the Band of the Hawk, right? The Band of the Hawk, they were following Griffith because Griffith represented this strength to achieve his dream. And there was this kind of idea of this trickle-down effect, right? Where they were like, if Griffith can achieve his dream and become a king, then it will affect us. We don't have dreams that are as strong. They have dreams. Guts acknowledges to Casca way back in Bonfire of Dreams that they have their own aspirations, but they don't consider their aspirations to be strong enough to stand on their own or to be attainable. So the Band of the Hawk, they believe that their aspirations may be weak, unattainable, or unsustainable. And that's why they rely on Griffith, you know? And Casca will talk about that whole weak idea here, that weak mentality here in a little bit. But yeah, their whole thing is that they're like, yeah, our dreams, we all have them, but we don't know if we're going to be able to accomplish them. We don't know if we'll be able to sustain them for longer than a short period of time. So we know that if we rely on Griffith is kind of this symbol that this small group of guys can go out and achieve great things, and he's the leader of them, and he's going to be this king, and they're going to kind of like, it'll all trickle down, and they'll get to rise up alongside of him, even though we know from the Fountain conversation that Griffith doesn't necessarily agree with that entirely, but he's going to go with it because he's going to use them. Sure. But yeah, it was this whole big setup, but it was reliant upon the fact that Griffith was strong. And this guy, Guts, is like, no, don't show them. But he does. He shows them just how weak Griffith is. And damn, it is Judo new, but it is like he is emaciated. He looks like he survived just like the worst torture imaginable. He is just like, he will not be able to ride a horse, stand on his 2 feet, or even fight again. Like, his entire body is just completely wrecked. Like, it's just skin and bones. He's just literally a corpse that is barely hanging on. And at this point, the only reason he's not dying is out of like sheer spite and will. It's heartbreaking to see Griffith, who was so strong throughout this entire series, and who you instantly was like, oh, he's going to be fine. He's going to be right as rain. He's going to be able to be this king and everything. Because, yeah, all this stuff is against Griffith, right? There's not only the idea that he has no tongue, which I think he's going to get a tongue next episode. If he, like, if that behelit, like, glows and he gets demon powers and reforges his tongue, I want him to become this giant big snowbird that just wrecks shit. Like, everything. I have ideas of what I think Griffith could become, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not, right? So I feel like he's going to become this big, giant hawk that's just going to, like, eat people. I don't know. But he has no tongue, so he can't speak. And that was like a huge part of his character, was that he was able to eloquently win over all of the nobles around him. So here's the thing. Even if he gains his weight back, even if he gains like muscle mass back or whatever, he has no tongue. He can no longer communicate. He's mute. He's not going to be able to communicate with the nobles or defend himself verbally from anything they say about him. So there's that. Then there's the fact that his tendons are cut, so he can't walk. He literally had to hold the reins of horses with his teeth because he can't grip anything in his hands. Like, there's just no way, unless he gets like a metal hand, which Guts got one in episode 1, so why not Griffith? But yeah, so they're just like all of the things that made Guts the material to be a king. His speech, his posture, his demeanor, his prowess in battle, all the strengths he possessed have been completely stripped away from him. And based in a society that values all these things and only puts values in those things, it's like, no, there's no way. He's literally just going to be this vegetable that, and I say vegetable, he's still cognizant. Oh, he's cognizant. And is still able to understand things, but he has no way to communicate and he has no way to move. So he's literally just going to be this person they carry around with them like a relic of the Band of the Hawk. And it's just a symbolic, literal person that they're just bringing with them, but can do nothing to defend themselves. And they're just there. Oh man, it's hard. It's a hard thing. And then Guts just instantly kills him. And the thing about it is, Guts, like, catches Griffith in his arms, and he's like, hey man, like, he has that look on his face, like, Guts has become so, and he's always kind of been this way, I guess, but it's just come out further and further as the series goes on. But Guts has this tenderness to him and this caring to him that when he grabs Griffith, he's like, I got you, man. And he's just fighting these people off one-armed. And I swear to you, there's a moment where Guts is fighting all these men off and blood is spewing. There's a moment where it almost looks like Griffith is like, I know that it's probably the shadows making his mouth look upturned, but there's a moment where Griffith's like, let me snuggle up next to you a little bit closer, Guts, while you kill all these men in front of me, defending me. Like, you know, I feel almost like Griffith is taking this advantage of this moment because it is very highly apparent that Griffith loves Guts. People who say otherwise are in denial. Stark denial. Griffith loves Guts. And he's just like, and there's the thing. Guts loves Griffith, right? Guts loves him. Like, there's no question in my mind that Guts loves Griffith. But there is a distinction, right? Because you have, again, we have our lovely triangle. We have Guts. We have Griffith. And we have Casca over here. And Griffith contemplates, like, what could a life with Casca be like? Seems kind of mediocre. and Griffith's relationship with Casca is very interesting because I feel like he views her as someone who is loyal and caring, but he does not romantically or sexually love her. I think he's someone that he likes her and he finds her valuable in his life, but does he romantically love her? No. Does he sexually love her? No. He's just like, it's a platonic love. That's all it is, right? That's it. Guts, I think at this point is very clear that he romantically loves her and he sexually loves her. Yep, we've established those things in episode 21. So yep, that's the case. And Casca feels the same way too, so it is mutual. Hooray! Isn't that great for them, right? Then you have Guts and Griffith. And this is where things get a bit complicated. Because does Griffith romantically love Guts? Yes. Uh-huh. Does he sexually love Guts? Yes. Because when he couldn't have sex with Guts and couldn't have him for himself, he went off with Charlotte. So I feel like Charlotte and him canoodling is the representation that, yes, he sexually wanted to be with Guts. Absolutely. Romantically, does he love Guts? Yeah, sure. He's literally spilled his guts to Guts about all of his vulnerabilities, about all the things that he's nervous about how does Guts think about him, all of this, right? I do think that he does too. Here's the problem, right? Does Guts sexually love Griffith? No, I don't think so. Mm-mm. I don't think that the concept of Guts getting with Griffith that way has crossed his mind. And when Casket pointed out to him, he was like, oh shit, what? When we were talking back in the cave, I was like, oh, okay, he likes guys. That's cool. But, oh, he likes me? Oh, I don't know about that. I feel like, does Guts romantically love Griffith? I feel like that's up to interpretation. Do I think that Guts romantically loves Griffith? No. I think that Guts loves Griffith. I do, but I think that it is a platonic love. I think that Guts loves Griffith a step higher than Griffith loves Casca. Definitely. I think Griffith likes Casca. She's loyal, she's caring, but he doesn't love Casca. He likes her, but he doesn't love her. I think that Guts loves Griffith, but in a platonic way. Like, I don't think Guts wants to get in Griffith's pants. Now, does Griffith want to climb that Guts-like man like a tree? Absolutely. But that's where the problem is. You have Casca and Griffith who both love Guts romantically and sexually, and so far Guts has only reciprocated that romantic sexual love to Casca, not to Griffith. And Griffith has a problem with that, as we see in this episode. So yes, it's a bit crazy, right? So I love the fact that we get this moment of them all just being like, what do we do? We've followed this man. We spent a year going after him because we thought things were just going to go back to the way that they were. We thought we were going to get him and we were going to reforge the Band of the Hawk. We're going to do things all over again and just start fresh from scratch. And that is, even before the eclipse, that was not possible. They don't have the forces they used to. Griffith is no longer someone that can lead them. They don't have... It's just not feasible anymore. They can't be the Band of the Hawk that they once were. And I think it's such a representation when Corcus strikes down with the sword and the sword breaks. It's like when Griffith went to strike Guts' sword and it instantly snapped it. It's like, no, the sword, the strength of the Band of the Hawk is over. It's done. It's not coming back. That Band of the Hawk was formed from Griffith, and what I like about this scene is everyone having different reactions to that on different levels. Corcus takes it pretty bad. I'm worried about Corcus, if I'm being honest, because we don't know where Rickard is. I said way back several episodes ago that if Corcus did not have Rickard to keep him in check, he could be dangerous. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to be dangerous. Because now if he thinks that, it's like if he has nothing to lose, nothing is more dangerous than a desperate average man, according to Fjordor and Bungo Stray Dogs. And I agree. Yeah, it is terrifying what Corcus could be capable of doing. And we don't even know yet, right? Because I wondered, I'm like, how could Corcus possibly attack Guts or do anything to harm Guts? Because Guts is so much stronger than Corcus. But with this whole eclipse... with us not knowing what Griffith is going to do, with everything in chaos, there is no telling what could throw Guts off his game and that Corcus could do in desperation. So it's all a big, like, moment, right? So Corcus is not taking it well. Corcus is in distress. We don't really get what Pippin's thinking. Pippin is not very developed in this part of the series. Maybe in the manga he'll be more developed, or maybe he'll die next episode and it won't even matter. We'll talk about it, but yeah, we have Corcus in distress and Judo, and Judo's like, he can't give you an answer. He has his tongue cut off, dude. Like, read the room, you know? Judo has an interesting response. We're going to talk about Judo. Then we have the remaining Band of the Hawk, and they decide that they want to follow Guts. They want to follow Guts, right? And see where it leads, because they're like, well, we need someone strong to follow and you're the new strong person, so let's follow you. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. And then Casca, what she wants to do. But yeah, Judo's like, this is not going to play out like it was before. And then Corcus is like, we were going to make a fresh start after we rescued Griffith. For a year, we've been squirming like bugs. All we had to do was get Griffith back. I had a feeling it would turn out like this. Seriously. But even so, as the sword is broken, I like Judo and Pippin are like, well, what do we do? So yeah. So then, you know, they're like, well, Casca, what do we do now? And at first they all turn to Casca. Like, they turn to Casca for strength. And I like that Judo instantly, like, throws them off. Judo's like, no. Judo's like, did you not just... Judo has seen what Casca has been like the last year. He's seen her struggle to keep it together. And that was, you know, before they found out about Griffith and when Guts wasn't there. Judo's like, you guys, we put all this pressure on Casca that she didn't deserve. Let's back off of her. She's not the one we need to rely on for total strength. That's... Because here's the thing. Casca's whole deal is Casca admits to Guts that she has always wanted to follow someone. She wants to follow someone and defend them. Here's the thing. She wants to be a sword, but the sword has to have a handler. And I don't think that that's sexist in any way. I know that some people would probably be like, oh, well, Casca's admitting that she's not the strongest in the room, that she needs somebody to wield her, or figuratively, or whatever. But I think that that could be the case with anybody. It's kind of the case with Judo. I think that it's not just the fact that Casca's a woman in which she says that. Judo even says himself, he's like, I'm not the one to lead. He's like, that's not me. He's like, I could put together a band of thieves and I guess lead them around. But he's like, I'm not going to really be a king or anything like that, you know. Whereas Casca admits that she always she's wanted to be someone that defends someone. She wants to protect someone and be there for someone and be their shield, their sword, whatever they need. That's her. And you could say it's like a maternal thing, like being a caregiver. It's a maternal instinct, blah, blah, blah. You could say that. But I think that it's something that we've set up with Casca's character from the start, especially with Griffith. So, I get it. But because she wants to be someone's sword, that means that she can't be the handler. You can't be both. In the words of the White Stripes, you can't be a pimp and a prostitute too. You know, you can't be the leader and the one that they're using. So for her, it's like she's like, this is not going to work for me to be this way. And Judo's like, Casca's pushed herself harder than anyone. And so Casca's like, well, let me think about this. And Guts is like, well, what are you thinking about? And she's like, well, what does Guts say? He says, what are you planning? He confronts her by the wagons, and she says, what were you going to say back there? And he says, if it's a battle of your own choosing, then you better settle it yourself. So, Guts' whole deal that he says to her is that if you pick the battle, then you have to fight it. It's your battle to fight alone. And I like Casca's response being like, well, that's a really convenient thing for you to say since you're the strong one here. Casca's like, not everybody can do that. And what I like about Casca's character is she's very real to Guts in the fact that she says, you know, you're a very strong person and you're a natural born leader. We've talked about this from the beginning. And you're a strong person who's a natural born leader and you can handle it. If you have a problem, I'm sure you can fight it. You've killed 100 men before. She's like, but not everybody is like that. And the people that can't settle their own fights, what are they supposed to do? What does that leave them doing? So are they just supposed to like wander aimlessly? And she's like, that shows how strong you are. And she says, because for us, even if we started something, we can't always finish it. It makes me sad that Casca lumps herself in with the weak because she is strong. She held together an entire army for a year by herself. When she herself was suffering through grief and through pain, she kept it all together and held together a bunch of guys that otherwise would just been like herding cats and been flailing like Magikarp out in the wilderness. She held them all together. And it makes me so sad that she puts herself in the weak category because I think Guts would argue you're not weak. But that's not the time or place for this conversation. But it's sad that she labels herself as that. She's like, we can't always finish the things that we start. And that's why she's like, can you really look Griffith in the eye and say that? And that gets good. She's like, can you look Griffith in the eye and say, oh, well, you started this fight. Are you strong enough to finish it in your condition? And that kind of gets Guts to shut up in that moment. Meanwhile, I love that, of course, like Griffith can see them both through the wagon. It's absolutely creepy. And she says, we are all weak. So we cling to others and to dreams. We cling to the kinds of words of comfort, even the harsh words of rebuke. I love when she like gets next to him and he like gives her a hug. It's so sweet. She's like, all I've wanted was someone to cling to and to be by my side. And Griffith can hear all of this. He can hear everything. It is the creepiest. Because it's like, do I think that Griffith is jealous of Casca? 1000%. Because he's like, because at this point, it's like all of this time when Griffith has been holding back, when Griffith has been beating around the bush, and Griffith has been, and the thing about it is, on the one hand, yes, Griffith has not come out to Guts and said the things like Casca has said, but he's kind of hinted around being like, do you think I'm vile? Do you think I'm cruel? Well, anybody would save you, Guts. You know, do I have to have a reason to save you? All this time, Griffith has been dropping little tiny subtle hints to Guts, being like, I like you. Do you like me? I'm sharing all this vulnerable information with you. Aha! Can you get the hint? And Guts has not gotten the hint at all. And then Casca's laid it all out on the line, and Guts was like, oh, I get it. So now Griffith is thinking, well, what do you mean you understand her but not me? It's like, I feel Griffith is so jealous of Casca right now because her words have reached Guts, but his couldn't. And now he's like, and now he can't speak, so he can't tell Guts and confess to him even if he'd want to. And she's like, I'll go check on Griffith. And she goes to change his bandages, and while she's doing that, Judo's like, well, what are you going to do now? I like that Judo and Guts finally have a conversation about this. And, God, she goes in to see him. Let's change your bandages. And he's like, whether it's a good dream or a bad dream, no one feels good when woken up in the middle of one. Because here's the thing, like, if that kind of represents where the Band of the Hawk is right now. They're waking up in the middle of a dream, which is about to turn into a nightmare. But it's like it's one thing to like get to the end of the dream and then it not, pan out and then wake up. But it's another thing to wake up before you even get to that point, right? Are you going back to traveling and perfecting your combat skills? And Guts is like, I guess, which means that like, Guts doesn't really, he's not sold on perfecting his combat skills and just wandering around aimlessly. I like that kind of is like, Guts isn't sold on that. It's not entirely what he wants to do, but he doesn't know yet what else he could do. And Judo's like, well, I guess that I'll just go around and form a band of thieves with the guys that are left. And, that way we can at least take care of Griffith. I like the whole point of them being thieves is to be able to take care of Griffith. Like, I like that they're not, I like that Judo is not like, well, we're just gonna, old Yeller Griffith and put him out of his misery and then go. But no, they're instead like, no, we're going to take care of him. We're going to take care of him. We owe him that much. We owe him our lives. I like Judo's sense of honor there. And then Guts is like, well, I'll come with you. And Judo's like, well, you've already left us once. You don't have to stick with us any longer. And I feel like Judo's also saying like, are you going to come with us just because you feel sorry for us? Or are you seriously wanting to come with us? Right? Because Judo's like, you left before for this reason. Why would you just come back with us? Are you sure you want to come back with us? Is this part of your journey, or do you just do this out of like guilt? And Guts says, well, but what about you? And he's like, I'm still a Band of the Hawk member, but you're different. You've already begun fighting your own battles. I like that Judo's like, I never was planning on leaving the Band of the Hawk, so me sticking around is part of my original goal, but you've already left to go do your own thing, so don't feel like you have to be obligated to stick behind to make sure that we are okay, because you weren't going to do that before. He's like, leaving behind those who can no longer stand up is the law of the battlefield. But that aside, you better be sure to take Casca with you. I like the Judo is like, I'm going to stick around, take care of Griffith and the Band of the Hawk. You and Casca get out of here. You crazy kids in love, None of us want to listen to you guys making love when we're all alone. Judo's like, I don't want to hear it. None of the Band of the Hawk want to hear it. We don't want to hear you guys making love while we're stuck out here in the cold. No, go on. He's like, you crazy kids have your own plans. Get on out. We'll be fine. We'll take care of Griffith. It'll be okay. I also find it interesting that at this point, it's kind of suggesting that Judo does not believe that Griffith, I think, has any future with Guts or Casca. Because Guts and Casca and Griffith were like, they were like connected like a trident. Am I right? Connected like trident. Connected kind of like this symbol on this book. There's three of them connected and twisted and intertwined together. Casca and Guts and Griffith. They're kind of all intertwined like this. Isn't that something? Who knows? Maybe that'll be something that we talk about in the manga reaction. Who knows? But yeah, I feel like it's interesting that Judo is no longer equating Griffith. He's like, you two kids are in love. Go off. Griffith has no part being in that equation. I was like, ooh. Which honestly, at this point, with Griffith's state, Judo's thinking that would just do more harm than good. And he's like, she's too much of a straight arrow to be leading a pack of thieves. He's like, she's got too much moral fortitude to her that leading a pack of thieves would just drive her insane. Because yeah, even when they were like at the early stages of the Band of the Hawk and they were kind of just a band of thieves, she was still very like, kind of like upright and like trying to get them all and to be more organized than they really had any right to be. A thief with a conscience, not for me. Interesting that Judo says that, because Judo so far has seemed to be like the most conscientious one of all of them. But he's saying that he's part of a band of thieves, and so no. He's like, take her with you even if you have to drag her. At that point, these guys show up and they want Guts to stay, being like, we'll make it through if you lead us. And Guts sees all of his comrades looking at him like that they want him to stay and lead them. And here's the thing that's so interesting about that, is that Guts is staring at him with this kind of like sparkle in his eyes, and he's like, maybe I could do that. But there's a big distinction where you have Guts, who determines that, yeah, maybe I could be the leader of the Band of the Hawk. But Guts has no ambition to become a king. He has no ambition to use these people in the band to help himself achieve a higher goal. No, it's that he would want to be the leader to keep this unit together. It's because there's all these people with these different aspirations and dreams, and Guts would be this like glue that would hold them together. But the thing about that is there's no real end goal with it. It's like, are you guys as the Band of the Hawk just going to aimlessly wander around and pillage and plunder and just be a band of pirates forever? Guts doesn't even know what he wants to do, but he has this kind of like idealistic thing in his head that says, well, maybe I could stay with these guys and maybe take care of Griffith and take care of Casca. Guts wants it all. Guts wants to have his cake and eat it too. He's like, well, maybe I don't have to leave. Maybe I can stay, keep everybody together, and we can have this complacent little existence. But the problem with that is that it's not going anywhere. It's stagnant. The Band of the Hawk was all riding on the fact that Griffith would become king. And Griffith becoming king put him on the pedestal above all of them. But again, it was that trickle-down effect. And so it was a kind of like a ladder that they all could keep climbing throughout their journey as a member of the Band of the Hawk. With Guts being the leader, they don't really have a purpose. They're just going to be a band and just travel around, I guess. So it is kind of flimsy at this point. But I think it speaks volumes that Guts would want to be with this crew and formulate and keep the Band of the Hawk together for the sake of all of its members. Whereas Griffith would keep the Band of the Hawk together for the sake of himself. And for the sake of using them to get to him being king. And I think that says something really drastic about both of them. What Guts would use people for and what Griffith would use people for. Totally different. So yeah. And then he says, maybe home's been here all along. Everything I wanted back then was right here in front of me now. It's like, Guts is like, maybe it was the friends we met along the way. Maybe that was it the whole time. But you know what? What a terrible time to realize all this. What the worst time to realize it all. It's just like the harp music plays and everything. And then we have Casca as she is changing Griffith's bandages. And Griffith can't say a word to her. That's probably the most disturbing thing, is like in any other series where there'd be a character that was injured and someone goes to heal him, like at this point, this would be the moment in time where Griffith would use like these poison honey words to like get into Casca's heart and like be like, to like vent his jealousy onto her. He can't do that. He can't do that at all. And she notes how small his hands were. How at the time when she was younger, it seemed like his hands were so much bigger and more powerful. And now she's seeing just how frail he truly is. I also make a distinct notice that in Casca's flashback, which is reality, she sees herself with the short hair. In Griffith's flash forward, which is all a hallucination, she has long hair. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But she's like, by placing his hand on my shoulder, he saved me time after time. And she talks about wanting to do it for him, but it's like, it's not the same as it was before. The feelings she had for Griffith back then are not quite the same as they are now. And she realizes if she leaves with Guts, that she's not going to be able to save him and he's probably going to die. And she's like, does her conscience want her to like leave him and go? And she's like, I'll get more. And then he like falls on her. And the scary thing is that at this moment when he falls on her and like is looking at her, it's like, this is a moment that, well, two things. One, Griffith looks like he'd straight up want to murder her. Like he straight up wants to murder her because she's taken his man, is what he looks like. The thing that sucks so much is that in this moment, like a year ago, this would have been Casca's dream. Having the man of her dreams, like laying on top of her and her like being someone that he depends on. And it's like a year ago, if this had happened and she was under him, it would be like him rewarding her for her service to him and all of this stuff, even as messed up as that is. And now he's in bandages and he's like a vegetable almost, and he's only on top of her because he can't control his own body. And he's trying his hardest not to completely fall on her. And then she realizes, like, she holds him and realizes that this is not what she imagined at all. It's crazy. It's crazy. And of course she's crying and Guts is like, what the hell happened? Why are you crying? What's wrong? And she's like, nothing wrong. He's like, shut up. And tell me there's something clearly wrong. What is this? And she says, it's really nothing. And he's like, well, then why are you crying? Did something happen to Griffith? And she's like, no. She says, it's not that. And that's what she says, loud enough for Griffith to hear. So he has heard this. She's like, I can't go. I can't go with you and leave him. And she's like, Griffith, he's so small. He's trembling so much when he used to be so proud and dignified. She's like, I can't leave him behind. I can't leave him like that. And Griffith can hear everything. So it's like she's taking so much pity on him. And she's like, he used to be so strong and now he can't take care of himself. She's like, I can't abandon him. She's like, I loved him. I still do love him. She's like, if I leave him now, she's like, he saved me all these times. I'm going to abandon him. She's like, I can't do it. And Guts was going to tell her, well, congratulations. The best news ever because I'm going to stay too. And we're both going to take care of Griffith. And that's when she's like, you know, you're through clinging to other people's dreams. And Griffith hears this too. You have your own battles to fight, remember? You have to go. If you are Griffith's true friend, you have to leave. And then, oh my God, Griffith like heard all of this. She's like, even without me, you have to go. Like, so here's the problem. Also, because Griffith has no idea that Guts and Casca talked about this before they had sex and stuff. He has no clue. He has no clue that's been Guts' whole thing. He has no idea. As far as Griffith knows, she could have been the one that made him go away to begin with. as far as Griffith is concerned, she could have told Guts to leave a year ago, and that's how Griffith views it. And he's like, this charlatan has driven him away once, now she's trying to drive him away again, and she's had sex with him, and blah, 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 blah. You know, as far as Griffith knows, they are like the source of his woes, right? Which is so unfair in a sense, because it's like, but Griffith, you also are in control of your own fate to an extent, correct? Oh my God. But no, he hears that Guts is leaving to be Griffith's friend, and he has this look on his face like, that is not at all what I was intending. What is happening? And that's when we have the whole thing with his version. When I saw the spurs, I thought it was Casca, but the boots were too wide. I was like, well, that can't be Casca. There's no way. It's him. And this whole hallucination. I thought Griffith was dying, which could be next episode. He could be reborn as this demon. I thought he was dying. And he was like, oh, hey, friend. Yeah. And then we see the version of him that is like, you have to get up. You got work to do. He's like, why are you trembling with fear in a place like this? He's like, you're a prince, remember? And he pulls the sword out, sticks it in front of him, and shows him this castle. And that castle's where he has to go, right? Isn't that the castle where Zodd was? Is that the same one, or is that the castle of the Midlands? What is happening? I do love the way that his wrists just sit up on the sword. I love that imagery. And I love the imagery of him like hoisting himself up in front of the castle. And then he's in the streets of the castle. And he sees himself as a child running. That shot of him, where he's like staring at the kid version of himself, is terrifying. He looks freaked out as fudge. And it's him in like the purple as a kid running through the streets. And he's running. And he says, I still want to play some more. And I want to know where Kid Griffith is from. I want to know his future. He says, the sun hasn't set yet. It's not the end of my journey. That is like a terrifying imagery. The animation was so good on this like hallucination that Griffith has. Because it's this idea that his inner self, his ego is telling him that you still have miles to go before you sleep, you know? He's like, you still have a crown to win. He's like, are you really going to give up and let these two people take care of you like an invalid the rest of your life? Is that it? Are you done? Is that it? Because then we see like the child version saying that there's more time. Now again, is this his reincarnated body as a human? Has he always been a demon and looked that pretty? I don't know. We don't know yet. But oh my God. And him just like staring at his child self, fading away into the light. It's terrifying. Like that shot of Griffith is terrifying. And I think I would be freaking out too if I saw my kid self in my life flashing before my eyes. Yes, and him screaming. But he doesn't have a tongue, so he can't scream. And so he grabs the reins, and he's going forward, and Guts goes after him. And he's like, I've rested for too long. It's time to go. It's not over yet. As long as that cobblestone path keeps leading me on. Oh my God, and the eye. Yeah. So the question is, when he says, I've rested too long, I have to keep going, is he talking about the year that he spent in the dungeons underground? Or is he talking about, I've rested too long with Guts and Casca and the Band of the Hawk, I need to go on and try to get my crown? And he's like, it's not over yet. As long as there's a path in front of me, as long as there's a will, there's a way. But then he hits the stone and falls from the wagon. And it's like, Griffith. Then we have this scene, right? We have this scene with Casca and him in the house. And she's making him supper. And she looks not like herself at all. She looks not like herself at all. It took me a hot second to realize it was Casca. The only reason I knew it was Casca was because of the voice actress. It was her voice actress. And that's the only way I could tell it was her. Because it doesn't even look like her. It looks like this maiden version of her that does not exist, right? And this is the weird thing, is that with Casca, Griffith sees her as like this maiden that if he was with her, she'd become his wife with kids and they'd settle down peacefully, which is not her. And meanwhile, you have Guts that views her as a warrior and someone that's equal to him. And that's what she is. So it's interesting to see how Guts and Griffith both view her. Guts definitely has the more like #Guts feminist icon, has like the better view of her, and Griffith just views her. The way that Griffith views her doesn't even reflect how we know of Casca. So that shows how far removed he is from truly understanding who she is, right? And I'm sorry, okay, I'm gonna wave up here. Attack on Titan spoilers up here for the time being. Attack on Titan spoilers. This whole scene of her opening the window and having to talk about their kids, did it not remind you of the finale of Attack on Titan where Eren and Mikasa have the little like hallucination of them off in a cabin in the woods somewhere, and they don't have any kids in that one, but it's like, oh, everything's all hunky-dory, it's all right as rain, this is what it would be like if the two of us ran off together and had an existence together. That's what this scene reminded me of. It reminded me of the two of them. But we all know how Eren ends up in that series, so could that be a parallel between Eren and Griffith? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, Griffith has always been like portrayed as the antagonist since episode 1, so end of Attack on Titan spoilers, but who knows? Let's just oh my god. But yeah, she asks if he was asleep, and he's like, oh, sorry. And she's like, we need to get some air in here. She's like, you were dreaming about the old days. And she says, it's been a while since any of the guys came by to see us. And she says, I wonder what they're all up to. And we see like the sword that she has, like the sword and the shield, and there's the Band of the Hawk symbol there. I wonder if that guy's still waving his big sword around somewhere. Like if they both gave up, if he had ran off with her and gave up on Guts, right? And then she's like, the past feels like nothing more than a dream now. Right? Seriously. And then she calls the kid. She's like, hey, Guts, leave Pippin alone. I like that Pippin's the dog's name. I was like, Pippin's the dog's name? I was like, really? That's what you did? But they named their kids Guts. I wanted to see what their kid looked like. I'm sorry. I have that obsession. I blame it on Sims 2. I want to see what their kid looks like. Why couldn't the show us their little kid? Why not? But no. She goes to feed him the soup. She's like, it's all distant memories. My life with you and the boy. Just the three of us. And as she goes to feed him, and he's like, this peaceful life is not so bad. But then he sees the behelit rising out of the damn soup. And it's almost like the behelit is saying that your life was never going to be peaceful like that. That you gave up that opportunity the moment you accepted me. It's like the behelit is saying the moment you accepted that I was going to be your ambition, that peaceful life was not an option. And I was like, ooh! Because yeah, it shows he's like stuck out in the water, and the behelit, what foreshadowing, the behelit like floating in the river, leading to where he was, like fucking fate as the eclipse happens. Was it all fate? Was it all meant to happen? Did his hallucinations, did he lead himself here? Is he the Attack Titan? Oh my god. And the moment he like lifts up his arm though, and it's just broken completely. And he can't even feel it at this point. That's the thing that's so terrifying. He doesn't scream out of pain. He can't even feel that his arm's broken at this point. He can't feel anything. He's so numb. And he just starts laughing. Because at this point, it's like, he's the furthest thing from a king now. In this state. The furthest thing from anything he had ambition for. And he just laughs because he's like, there's no way that any of those goals can be met. And that's when he sees the stick pointing out thing, and he tries to commit suicide and skewer himself on it. He tries to kill himself. And he misses. He tries to kill himself, and he can't. I thought for a second it went through the helmet, but I was like, how could it get through the helmet? But no, instead it just skewers, like, the part of him that can get to the helmet. That's it. And instead he just sits there and he can't die. He's not even strong enough to kill himself. And that's when he sees the behelit. And now the body parts all lining up. What the fudge? That is terrifying. But we get the flashback. And that, it seems so symbolic that, like, the thing, the stick of the mud that, like, caused him to bleed as the sun is about to be eclipsed and he holds it out there. Like, what the hell? The imagery, y'all. The imagery as his left hand is, like, bleeding down. And so then we see it's called a behelit, the egg of the king. The egg of the king, Not God's egg, but the egg of the king. I feel like it's like the little hand there. It's like the hand of God holding the egg, right? Because it's our narrator. And it shows the fortune teller giving it to him. As he's a kid, the owner of the necklace is destined to hold the world in his hands in exchange for his flesh and blood. So yeah, and at the time I was like, well, was that all a lie? But no. This guy gave it to Griffith, and Griffith was like, oh, cool. Now, the question is, did that guy that gave Griffith the behelit know who Griffith was, or if he was reincarnated from a demon in the past? We don't know. We don't know, but it's very suspicious, and he holds the behelit in exchange for his flesh and blood. And it just dawned on me at this point that Griffith had never bled into the behelit. He hadn't really done anything with it, but now he's got blood in the behelit. It's gonna take his flesh and blood, right? Oh my God. And then meanwhile, Guts is thinking, he's like, is this all my fault? Did I lead you to this? And as Griffith is, like, chasing after him in the covered wagon, he's like, Griffith, was it really me who drove you to this? I mean, the thing of it is, it's this idea of lack of communication, because Griffith and Guts should have communicated with one another, and they didn't. And this is the problem. It's the idea that Griffith is kind of saying, you know, that because Guts and Cass are this way, it's driving him to do this, but there's so much more to it. And it's like, yeah, there were signs that maybe you should talk to him more, Guts, but are we going to blame Guts for all of this? Really? I don't think he should be blamed for all of it. I don't think he's responsible for what's become of Griffith. Not entirely. He's like, what should I do? And I mean, you can make, it's so scary. It's so complicated because yes, because Guts left without communicating to Griffith, Griffith took it the wrong way. He took it the wrong way, and we'll talk about it in the comments I've got next episode. He took it the wrong way and made a bad decision. So you could argue that, yeah, Guts is responsible. But honestly, Griffith didn't have to make some of those decisions. They were his choices. So I get a little bit sad when Guts is like, well, is it all my fault? And it's like, no, not entirely. And he's like, what should I do? What do you want me to do? What can I do for you now? I'm like, Guts is out here like trying to be like, what can I do, man? Help a bro out. And Griffith has no tongue, so he can't tell him. And that's when oh my God, the idea of the eclipse happening right in front of Griffith is just like the most symbolic, terrifying thing possible. An eclipse. A solar eclipse. And Zodd's over here like, Zodd's like Enchanter Tim being like, I warned ya! Oh, but you didn't listen. Nah, it's just a wee harmless behelit. And Griffith looks at the thing like, oh shit. This thing in my hand. This is problematic. Maybe you all should go away. And that's when he sees Guts and he's like, nope. And he's like, get away from me. Yes. Oh my God. And he's like, nope, this is bad. He's like, I've led you here. He's like, stay away. Oh my God. That just, the eclipse like drowning everything out. And he's like, Guts. Oh, and then all the demons start to show up. Yes. And everybody thinks that they're soldiers for an army, but it's like, no, it is not. It's the eclipse bringing all the demons out from that world. Like Zodd warned them. Oh my God. And this was the moment He said when his ego and ambition crumbles, that's when y'all are gonna die. And at this moment, Griffith, his entire ambition was crumbling, and he tried to kill himself. And because of that, it led to the Behelit getting the flesh and blood it needed. And it's like, nope, it's just like, Zodd's freaking Confucius. Zodd knew everything that was going to happen. Is he a fortune teller? Was this his doings? What the hell is that? Could they be the Midland Army? Nope, not quite. And Guts is like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what it is, but it's ominous. I'm like, oh, no shit, Sherlock. Are you sure? Are you sure it's ominous? I don't think this looks ominous at all. No. And as he's running like a freaking rom-com into the water to fetch Griffith, Griffith is like, nope, do not come near me. He's like, don't come near me. If you touch me now, if you grasp my shoulder now, then I'll never again you. I'm like, what will he never again you? Will he never love you? Will he never be with you? If you come near him and you grab his shoulder and you get with him, it's like, will I never again be able to be with you? Like, what's going to happen? Because he doesn't finish the sentence, and then, yeah, Guts grabs him. And then and he's like, Griffith. And that's when he looks down and sees the damn Behelit that he's had since they were kids. And its face rearranges, and it's terrifying. Nope. That's terrifying. I'm not a fan. Nope. Oh my god. And it like opens his mouth and starts crying blood. And has Griffith's eyes. Nope. Not good. Not good, Cotton. And then it just becomes a wall and sea of corpses. Nope. This is like some Twin Peaks shit right here. I don't know what to make of this. This is bad. This is very bad. It's just like faces upon faces upon faces. This is the most surreal shit I've ever seen in a long time in an anime. This beats Evangelion. This Evangelion got nothing on this. Neon Genesis ain't got nothing on this shit of just them on a literal landscape of human faces. Nope. Nope. This is like Salvador Dali stuff. What are we doing? And then the episode just ends. Then it just ends. It stops. That is very Neon Genesis, but oh my god. I'm not ready for next week. I'm not ready for next week. I'm gonna get some sleep though, because I feel like you know when you're sick and you get hyped up on adrenaline and then you suddenly like crash post it. I feel like White Bird Coon and I are gonna need some rest, some fluids, some tea and honey, some extra meds to get us all freshened up as daisies for the next 2 episodes, because things aren't getting resolved in the next 2 episodes. Things are going to go off the wall batshit crazy in the next 2 episodes, and I want to be completely ready for that, because then we have the manga to start, and that's going to be exciting. Now, I don't want to know anything about the manga. Y'all know this. The only thing I do know is that apparently the 14 volumes that do exist are the ones that have been published up to when Mira died, and I know someone has taken over the manga since then, so I definitely want to, you know, read the 14 volumes of his work as they are, and then from there I would like to see where the story goes, obviously, because I'm a completionist, but we'll just have to cross those bridges as we go. But yeah. So yeah, it's fine, everything's great. What are we talking about? Well, the next 2 weeks are going to be Christmas themed. Holidays are coming just in time for Berserk episodes 24 and 25. And I'm sure that they're going to be... This is so funny because last year, it was like the end of Death Note was happening right around the time of the holidays. And this year, it's literally the end of the Berserk anime, start of the mangas happening. So what wholesome shows to have on during the holidays. Am I right? Oh my gosh. So yeah. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care. I look forward to your comments down below, but I will see you all next week for episodes 24 of Berserk. Bye!